Hi, this is Alex Gonzalez from In Your Face. This is going to be an Age of Sigmar episode where we're going to talk about the future of Age of Sigmar, what we hope to see in the new year, and what we're really looking forward to for a hopeful 3.0 AOS in the summertime. You know, Age of Sigmar, we haven't really been playing on the stream all that much. There's a few reasons for that. Primarily, Age of Sigmar is in a bit of a strange place right now. So we're going to talk about our hopes and dreams, thoughts and prayers, right? And enjoy.
That's how I've been doing it mostly.
Alex is looking mighty confused.
I've been PvP is a bit broken right now, but I've been enjoying it very much. Like it's a lot of fun, but it is broken as fuck.
Oh yeah.
I've been. All right, Alex. You're so quiet because you're on mute or your mic is not plugged in. But it's nice that you can see your lips moving. It's wonderful.
Yeah, right?
I hope you're not recording right now.
I think he is.
He has been. It's all good.
Damn, but I can cut it out whenever I want.
He's in control.
I have the power. Hey, Skull.
I was gonna say, am I the only one who doesn't play WoW?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
I love that immediate, like.
To be fair, Alex, I kind of quit playing WoW many years ago and have only started playing again recently.
Oh,
with
yeah.
the release.
No, the last time I played WoW before now was Burning Crusade.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's when I
That's
dropped
a long
out.
time ago, right?
Yeah,
that's like Warcraft 3.
6?
It's a decade ago, basically.
Okay.
Okay. Then I played after that because I quit. I actually
Probably a
quit
raft.
to start playing WoW. Warcraft. So like Warhammer. So like 2012, 2011 is when I put it down.
That's probably cactusism. I don't
See,
know.
I think it's funny because it's like I played WoW, I think maybe for a week at a friend's house when I would like hang out there and we'd like drink and I would like play WoW. And I was like, I can't do this. And I got into Warhammer in middle school. And so it was like the moment I started like playing like Warcraft 3, I was like, this is just like Warhammer.
Right? Yeah,
for a reason. For a reason.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would have got into it, but when I started playing WoW, I came over with a guild of over 100 people from the previous game we played together. So it was, that's what drove me for the first part. And then I really got sick of it. I got sick of the politics and all the management and all that. And that was the people was my burnout and why I stepped away. And then I found that playing Warhammer in person with real people was the miniatures and playing the game satisfied the same itch that playing the video games did. But instead, I was able to interact with people face to face and just enjoyed it that much more for the human friendships and bonds.
Yeah, similar story. I still play with the same people I played original WoW. So I've known these kids who are adults now for almost 15 years. It's probably one of the longest running relationship I have. I've never met any of them, but they have met all of each other because the first year we played WoW, they got into like a giant LAN party at somebody's house in San Diego, and I was the only one who didn't go. I have never to this day met any of them in person.
It's so fucking funny. It's so funny. They're like, is this guy even real?
That was like a big deal in the early 2000s, though, when people were starting to meet from MMOs. And so I've had people literally traveling the world. Like there was this one guy I played with from Australia. He came to America and took this like travel across America bus. It was like a 21-day bus trip across America, weaving across the states. And he had managed to find one where each place he was staying was going to meet different people from the WoW guild to meet in person. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry is Jerry Sonata. I don't know if you guys know him, except other than Alex. He when we went to Chicago for the first Adepticon, he met up with a bunch of his old guildmates from like Dark Age of Camelot when he was there, which was funny to me. But they still keep in touch like for that game. But
that's funny.
And not to go on a long like monologue about this. But,
here we go.
Well, Daok was nice. I really liked Daok. Like the actual mechanics of sieging a castle, like having to gather together the materials, build a ballista, tear down the walls, and then assault through the breach in the wall was an amazing mechanic for the era.
Yeah, it was it's still to this day one of the best developed PvP, like mass PvP game ever made. Like there's a lot of games that try to replicate that like success, and they never. The only one that came close was Guild Wars, but that was it.
Yeah, well, the
Because
thing was,
Warhammer Online tried, but it didn't succeed.
no, it didn't. Well, Dayoc was beyond the server tech and internet tech of its time. Like that same game released today, but with modern graphics and modern infrastructure, would just be that much more amazing.
There's a bit of a nostalgia too, like
Yeah,
but yes, I agree.
I think part of that issue also is that the community probably drove a lot of that game more than the game itself, possibly.
It's possible. They actually so Dayoc servers are still open. Dark Age of
Oh,
Camelot servers, and I a while ago downloaded it, logged in, created a character. I couldn't restore my old characters. I was real disappointed. But I made a new character, and I spent 30 minutes before I was like, yeah, no. The graphics are too old. The mechanics are too old.
Whatever. I still play EverQuest like every once a year. I still play like classic every time they do a new TLP for Lachlan and Planes of Power. I go back and like make your characters and play through this expansion. Or for me, it's like that was my peak like 15-year-old MMO like nostalgia. Like so, I'll still stick to that.
I never played EverQuest. I mean, I played it like, a day or whatever, but I never got into it.
Yeah, I still remember the moment I had to explain to my mother there was a monthly paid subscription for a game. It was like a weird like conversation, like because parents are like, you pay for a game once, what would you pay for it monthly? That was the first like mainstream monthly subscription game, I think, at that point.
No, well, I don't know about that because you got to remember that Asheron's Call had a monthly subscription. So that was circa 95. And then when we were on AOL, America Online or whatever.
He's been recording us this entire time, and he just thinks he's being funny.
Oh.
Held hostage in his lobby.
If this makes it into the final cut, to the people who are listening and not watching, Alex has a cry for help. He had to write on a pad because he has a gun to his head and he can't actually
I mean, this seems like it's a video that's meant for the Patreon page.
Maybe.
A discussion on the histories of MMOs. And
I think this kind of stuff is great content to do that. Like we start randomly, why not? Right?
Sure. Mm-hmm. I'll post this on Patreon when Alex starts posting on OnlyFans. I'm just saying it's only fair.
Well, we have a Patreon. There's no reason for me to put an OnlyFans. I'm working on the OnlyFans thing, hence the home gym, right?
I was like, if that's the only limitation, I will set one up for you, buddy. I have no problem with that.
I don't know. No, don't worry. I'm fine. I can set
OnlyFans isn't necessarily for porn, right? It's just turned into that because they have
just like the internet. The internet's not necessarily for porn.
Yeah. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. But honestly, like if you have an OnlyFans and you don't have some fun with it that way, like why would not? Why?
Well, I mean, I think that I think there are people that don't. It's probably mostly all porn, but I don't think it's all hardcore. I think there's a lot of OnlyFans cosplay, especially that'll do lots of stuff, maybe wearing sexy outfits, but not necessarily breaking out the toys.
Yeah, if I was going to be disappointed, I'd just watch HBO, I guess.
No. Cinemax at night.
Cinemax.
I know you were sneaking down to watch Cinemax as a teenager. I know it.
HBO Max, man.
Waiting for those static boobs.
But I tell you, if you go back far enough, for me as 14, 15-year-old John, this is before the Playboy channel, we had Rendezvous.
Before color TV.
And it was scrambled, but you would watch it. I would watch it scrambled anyways, because every once in a while a little boob would come out or something. I mean, it'd be all, "Why look, I saw something."
Jesus fucking Christ!
I remember those channels on the random cable old TV.
Oh yeah,
friend's house and stuff.
So this is like a Slanesh episode then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, is it every episode Slanesh? It
kind of ends up being...
The entire Age of Sigmar fluff light is Slanesh. It's in somewhere.
Well, did you watch the
entire lore?
Well, did you watch the or read the MetaWatch article earlier today, the day of this recording, a little later in the week? Did you watch the MetaWatch, or did you read the MetaWatch article done by Vince from Warhammer Weekly and Tom Lyons?
Honestly, I haven't because there's been no meta. So
Right.
what am I
I mean,
watching?
there's obviously no meta. Thankfully, it wasn't one of those like standings one like they've done before. It was literally them just discussing the competitive nature of Slaanesh and Nurgle lists, and they wrote like an Archeon Slaanesh list, and
So
it's
it's
nice.
not a meta watch article. It's just like let's talk about our favorite units and their power level in a
Well,
vacuum.
it's a Supreme Cyberite list, so it's like, oh, yeah.
I mean, okay, so I just popped it up because I had to see what the hell you're talking about, and then literally it's a list of Archeon and Slaanesh. I'm already done. Like I'm already done. It's probably Lurid Haze. Let me guess, Lurid Haze. Yay, Lurid Haze. What do you know?
Yeah. Lord Hayes in Asqui. Supreme
Who
Cyberite.
wrote this? Who wrote this? An Italian man? It's probably an Italian player. Who
Well,
wrote
it's
this?
Vince. He was Warhammer Weekly Vince. Do you not know who he is? He's a community figure. He's actually got fantastic hobby videos. His hobby cheating videos on YouTube they've helped me out a lot.
Wait, hobby cheating videos?
They call it he has these videos and they're just called hobby cheating. They're basically like, important tips that he could share regarding like something with hobbying, whether it's basing or painting or whatever.
Oh, that's great. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
He had one where it was like, I'm gonna paint my Seraphon in 24 hours. He's like, it's not gonna be in 24 hours straight. It's gonna be a total of 24 hours broken up over maybe 3 days. And he was like, I need to prep for this tournament. And he had like all Seraphon models, but they were all like the 3rd edition Warhammer ones, like the 1995 models. And that's the reason why I chose Orin Seraphon. I was like, I need to find a cool scheme that works with like this type of like color as a contrast. And his looked the coolest. So
the Nurgle list I can argue is like somewhat competitive, but why not just make it all Blight Kings?
Yeah, right. I think because it's a Warhammer community article and they're not allowed to just do all.
No, they're not allowed to do that. It's a Meta Watch article because a few Meta Watch articles have been actually really good. This one already looks like garbage to me. I'm sorry, guys, but firstly, Lurid Haze is not a meta army. It's a weird meta buster army, but it's not a meta army. Like,
well, hey, Blight Kings are $57 each. So if you wanted to do a meta watch that could push sales, if you were saying like, you know what,
they don't have to. They don't have to. 50 Blight Kings is already proven to be a fucking nutty list. Like that's
what I'm trying to say. You could have 50 Blight Kings in the MetaWatch article and still have it be okay in like the competitive based articles because it's a competitive list and it's pushing a lot of product.
Or you can find a bunch of like what's it called, Nightmare Before Christmas Boogeyman models and just use those because they're basically Blight King models. That's about as good as they look. They just look like the
honestly. I think most of us Nurgle players already have 25 or 30 Blight Kings.
Yeah.
And have them for a while. I mean, like as soon as they went through the price drop or even the rumor of the price drop, I was on eBay. I found myself the other 20 Blight Kings that I needed. And now I have a full collection.
And many people across the internet hate you for it because that Blight King list is like absolutely not fun to play against.
No, God, no. It's
no, it's not.
Right here, look at that. They happen to be handy. Look at those wonderfully fun Blight Kings.
Of course, they're just and within arm's reach. I love it.
Right? How convenient. Hi, everyone. This is, of course, In Your Phase. It's going to be an Age of Sigmar episode, but we were talking a little bit about things. We were preparing things, and it was honestly a little tricky to think to figure out some content for this week just because there hasn't been a lot of there's been basically no events, and there hasn't been a big a winter FAQ yet, but we are expecting one any day now, probably next week. So we don't have that. So we don't have a lot of answers there. There haven't been a lot of events, but we're going to talk a little bit about the state of Age of Sigmar. And we, of course, want to get started with our phases. My phase has been basically nothing. I've actually been selling off a bunch of extra projects that I just know I'm going to never get to. And so I just came back from UPS just before hopping on here and got rid of a good number of shit. So I still got a lot more to go, but we're making room so that we can really focus on, the Necrons and the Seraphon and the rest of my death stuff, apparently, that we'll talk about a little later. You know, I got to crack open a box full of vampire bits, obviously. Then dice box, got to paint that thing up. That's all that's in my phase. We had a game, Jeremy and I did. It's on the live stream. It was another 40K stream. It was it wasn't Custodes. God, I already forgot what we were playing. I brought Necrons and you brought Harlequins. And it was a game. I will say that. It was fun.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
Well,
enjoyable.
I mean, it was fun, but like every time
For
you
you,
roll the
maybe.
dice, you're rolling the dice possibly against your friendship. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
When that happens.
I will say that imbibing in a full bottle of wine did not help, but fuck Necrons when they make 80% reanimation rolls. You know what the worst part is?
Did you do that, Alex?
Sound
Did you like go hot on the reanimation?
Oh yeah.
It was hot enough where I was like, okay, well, I have to fail some at this point. And then I roll 2 6s and I look up at him and I'm like, Jeremy, you bought these dice. You can't yell at me. These aren't my dice.
So you know the problem with this is that when Alex plays, like when he played against me on TTS, he rolled fairly well on reanimation protocols. When he played against Jeremy, I always see him roll really well on reanimation protocols. The moment he's going to go to a tournament, his dice are going to shit on him. And he's like, I thought I was good at Necrons. Like, no, you just rolled really well at reanimation protocols. I'm sorry.
See, here's the thing, though. Sometimes other things don't go well, and my dice are really bad in the game on other aspects. Like my offensive dice, like my hits and wounds are just awful. Or the Satan, just like our very first turn when you and I played, Garrett, the Satan did what? Absolutely nothing. You know, like
it wasn't in our game for summary. It wasn't so much of the reanimation rules. The reanimation rules basically solidified a win because Alex was like completely out of position with his 2 Satans on one flank only, and then the entire flank.
Both my Satan were in the middle. They weren't out of position. They were in the position that they needed to be in.
No, okay. Well, you can watch the video. We had this conversation at the end of the video. But the point is,
I basically nod while he says, "Well, you did this wrong." I'm like, "Okay."
No, you had a Satan, the Void Dragon, basically doing nothing for 3 turns. So they're doing mortal wounds. He was out of position. And
killing a warlord, doing mortal wounds to units. He did nothing the whole turn, the whole game.
Yeah, remember we went over the killing the warlord and how unlikely statistically that was, and you just having to roll it, and it was like, cool, that's what happens. And also, he wasn't the warlord. So
he wasn't. Oh, he was a character.
He was just a character.
But he was a character that gave an entire flank rerolling ones to wound.
No, we roll all to wounds. And
rerolling all to wound. Yeah.
And it was only in melee, and we never got into melee because it didn't matter.
No, the bikes charged the warriors.
After they lost half of themselves on turn 3. Yeah, that was super.
Well, we can let people watch the
game.
We can let the audience watch the video.
40K when you can both be salty about the game.
I'm not salty. I'm more salty. I'm less salty about the game. I will say that.
The moral of the story is if you can't kill a Necron unit that is double OPSEC, you're never taking that objective from them, which means you can't win a flank. And that was the moral of the game. That was it. Like I killed a unit down to 3 men. Then they 15 of them came back from reanimation, and then the rest came back in the reanimation from the reanimation orb. It was fairly brutal. Like it was just like, cool, that was fun. That's not.
It was one of those clutch moments where it's like, is the whole unit gonna die? Oh, the whole unit didn't die. Oh, well, let me take all this dice here and let's see what happens.
Yeah. It was exactly that. It was just like, well, I've done enough pecking at him where that unit should finish off that unit on a statistical average roll. Didn't go that way, and then the reanimations were like, "Fuck you, Jeremy," and then I was like, "Cool."
There was one point where there were 7 Necron warriors that got charged by a 5-man troop of Harlequins, and I was like, "Well, the unit's gone," and he's like, "Yes, the unit is gone," and then the unit survived, and I was like,
"Hold up, it was a solitaire, a troop unit." And a fucking transport, and the solitaire activated twice with CP. It survived.
What? Okay, but the second activation wasn't my fault because it wasn't my dice rolls. You literally all the dice hit, and then like all of his wound rolls were like 1s and 2s.
No,
it was like, that's not on me, except for like 2 of them.
it's not. Yes, there was an element of dice roll on my part that wasn't phenomenal, but like we're just covering like a 5-man troop unit, an assaulter activating twice could not finish off 7 warriors, and like those harlequins have melee weapons. Like ignore 2 Rand strength 4 weapons. So it's like it's not like they were like punching above their weight. No, they were punching like below their belt, and they still couldn't kill them. It was absolutely like just kind of like fuck it. And the worst part is like
So you
had I
punched
like
Alex
both.
below the belt, and you got fucked over because you did that.
Yeah,
You deserve
that's
it.
right.
After hours.
That's, I don't know if I deserved it. Hey, I didn't deserve anything. I just earned it, and unfortunately, I earned the wrong side of that paycheck.
Fair enough.
He got some seltzers out of it. It was fine. And he got drunk.
Oh
so
no,
that was fun.
that was great. I drank a Chateauneuf du Pape. Like it was like $40 bottle of wine. It was fucking phenomenal.
So the thing is,
game.
I don't pick up on when you're then intoxicated because I typically have to drive home. So I'm usually not drinking nearly as much as he is. And so
Yeah,
I don't
for
pick
sure.
up until way too late. I'm like, oh yeah, he's a little toasty right now.
Oh yeah. Well, if
Oh.
you hear me get really salty, that's probably because I've had one too many.
Yeah.
I'll be honest though. In my defense or in my appreciation, because I'm going to give myself a bone here, I didn't say shit on the stream about the fucking reanimation roll until like turn 3. I was like, okay, I'm fucking done with this.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So I realize this, and I've been trying to do better, right? I've been trying to do better at saltiness for sure in the last few months, right? We'll see how things happen when world comes back a little bit, but I'm studying everyone's saltiness, right? Because I'm not the only one, right? Obviously, but everyone does it in a different way. Like mine traditionally was like a slow burn where things were just consistently salty throughout. Jeremy's is like no salt, no salt, no salt, and it's like the pressure cooker's getting higher,
Yeah.
boom, pop off.
That's
Like,
what I hear. And then it was like
Yeah.
a steaming, screaming kettle, I bet, for the rest of it.
and then like Paul's is like an EKG where like it'll be like stable and like boom.
Nice.
Yeah, the problem is I didn't have a chance to release any pressure during the game because every consecutive roll was just like getting worse and worse. It was like a runaway steam train basically.
Yeah. Shit. Oh boy. Well, that was my phase or our phase kind of. John, what about you? What's in your phase?
Oh man. Well, unfortunately, my phase still did not involve a lot of gaming yet. With everything that's going on, I'm just taking a little hiatus from visiting some friends and stuff right now. But been just enjoying myself around the house. Now I got a couple things I'm looking forward and kind of moving towards doing some more hobby stuff. And I haven't been doing a lot of painting lately. In fact, I didn't do a lot. I did like 0 airbrush last year. And as I started to get my paints out, I noticed that a bunch of them were getting like separated and all of that kind of stuff. So I was doing a little research and I found this tattoo ink mixer that you basically just push down with your bottle on top. And a few seconds later, it mixes the hell out of the paint. And I've taken like some old super separated bottles, where it's like the dark liquid and then the pigment is like a big chunk, and I've been able to restore them. I was able to thoroughly mix my Apothecary white contrast paint and my Space Wolf gray contrast paint. So and it was pretty cheap. This thing was like $10 off of Amazon, and just a little tattoo ink mixer. You just kind of go like that, and your paint's
Wow.
pretty awesome, huh? And so a couple things come out of that. One, when you shake your paints, you actually put a bunch of air bubbles into it. The centrifugal mixer, or whatever the hell it's called, doesn't put any air bubbles in. And second, I found that, with the effort it takes me to shake all these paints and get them ready, then I go to do my painting and my hand is doing this because I've just spent a bunch of time shaking it. So it takes care of both of those things. So highly recommend the little paint mixer. And with that, that has been like the major thing that's in my phase. I was talking to my co-hosts here. I got some new glasses. Hope you guys like my new hobby glasses. What was happening was I was over at friends' houses, and every time I went to paint something, I was finding myself doing this. I went to read my codex, and I was like this with my codex, and my friend's like, dude, at the point where you're moving your glasses to read, do you need more different glasses? I'm like, yeah, I guess I need different glasses. So got myself some new hobby glasses. And then to wrap things out, and again, that's not something that has a payout quite yet, but Andrew, I know you're going to appreciate this. I ordered all of the peppers for this year. And so I ordered 12 varieties of peppers from the nursery that I normally go to. And then I ordered seeds from the Pucker Butt Pepper Company. And Andrew sent me, or excuse me, not Andrew, I was sent some seeds earlier the year, and I have some seeds that I've dried. So I've got like half of my pepper seeds are seeds and half are plants that are coming in. And then I set up a whole grow setup and seed starter in the garage. Now, here's the thing I'm going for this year. Okay. So 2 years ago, we did Don't Fear the Reaper. Don't Fear the Reaper. And everybody who was interested in the Warhammer community that kind of joined me with the Good Boy Pepper Club, we all tried the Carolina Reaper. Alex tried them. Garrett tried them. Le Bogeyman did not try them. But everyone else tried.
Why not?
He has declared that bell peppers are too hot for him.
Bell pepper.
and so we tried that. So
Sacre bleu.
And then last year in 2020, I decided to go for what I called the ladder. So I actually had a whole variety of peppers going from the hottest peppers I could find through mellow. And so as we did our pepper challenges, we're able to kind of climb this ladder with a whole variety of peppers. This year, I found all the tiniest, hottest peppers I could. So I'm growing all little teeny, super hot peppers and something called Evil, Xvil. And I don't know what it's going to be, but it's called Evil. So it sounded pretty hot. And then one called Dragon's Breath that had all kinds of spikes on it. I thought that looked cool too. So that's what's up for the year. For those of you that are part of the Good Boy Pepper Club, you should look forward to some of those peppers later in the year. We're also looking at some options for maybe some of our, join us on Patreon at some of the higher levels, and you automatically become a member of the Good Boy Pepper Club. We'll see how that works out. We're still figuring it out with my producer here. But other than that, that's what we got going on. You like that, Jeremy, right?
Real quick, John, when is our next, or do you have lined up any hobby videos?
Got you. So I've been taking a little hiatus from the hobby stream, straight up. And I was talking a little bit about that with Garrett earlier. Basically, the format, while it was really fun at first, was really kind of not working for me. And so I've taken a little break across the holidays, and I'm kind of gearing back up. So I don't know if next week or the week after is when I'm going to pick things back up. But I have a new format, so it's not going to be the same kind of hobby stream that we were doing before. I have some ideas, and I haven't fully locked them down, so I don't want to run my mouth too much. But the general idea that I'm looking for is that each week I will kick off a different project, and then the rest of the project will go to our YouTube channel, and some of it will probably be some Patreon content as well. And basically that way, the problem I was having was that 1 hour a week was making it take too long for me to build some of these things. I was getting bored of building them by the time I got to them. So now I'm going to kick the project off, do the entire build, and then post most of it up on YouTube. So you'll still have access to that, but I'll be doing something more fresh every week as far as that goes. So look for that in the next couple weeks to start back up. But yes, I have definitely been taking a hiatus on.
Right on.
And that's it. Jeremy, what has been in... Oh, no, wait, not Jeremy. Shut up, Jeremy. Garrett, what has been in your phase?
So close. So I don't have a lot of hobby things. Although I have over the holidays. So I ended. I think previously I talked about. I ended one of my D&D campaigns, and I've been on a hiatus on my other one. And so I've actually
hiatus. I just said hiatus.
Well, I was a different word. Break. On a break.
Okay.
So for DMing my campaigns, I've been on a break, and I've decided to pick them back up. And so on Wednesday, I started up my Pathfinder Second Edition campaign. So we did our first session of Pathfinder Second Edition. For those who care the difference between that and 5e, and it was interesting, different mechanics. Just kind of learning a new game is actually kind of fun and exciting, and new class options and all the fun stuff. So started working on that, and I get to plan a whole new adventure from scratch rather than try to continue what has been building on old ones. So it's kind of exciting to just be able to build a lot new stuff from scratch. And that's kind of all I really have gotten going. A lot of house chores and things like that. Not a lot of excitement going on in my life. So yeah,
You sound excited about that excitement.
I know. I mean, it's been interesting. I'll just say it's been interesting living in DC these last few weeks, or right outside DC. So yeah,
I have no idea what you're talking about, but it's okay. We'll figure it out later.
Exactly. So that's basically been what's going on in my phase. So Jeremy, how about you now that it's actually your turn?
Jesus Christ.
Feel free to speak, Alex.
Jeremy, you're on mute. I think your noise suppression.
I can't do a French accent well.
Well, it's because you're not, cultured enough. But but personally, JBPP just sounds like a terrible British strip club. I'm just pointing that out. Or bell pepper? So BPPPPP. But then I goes like bell pepper prop, or was it like pepper prop? Anyway, too many P's. We gotta rethink, rebrand. Or PQ. I guess you could go for PQ. That works. Secondly, what the
hell are you talking about? Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, how many pickled peppers did Peter Piper pick?
2.
Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry. I guess I'm not sure. Like, was the Pied Piper had anything to do with pickles? I know you had to do with rats and that flute. So,
it's a tongue twister, man, and he did pretty well. That's a hard one.
Did you like that? That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good. I liked it.
I had all my teeth knocked out in an accident when I was a small child.
And of course you did. Of course you did.
Which involved a whole lot of these tongue twisters. So I'm like really good at most of them.
The worst part of this is like sometimes I just want him to throw some like random stories which are complete bullshit and see if we fucking figure it out. Like just going into like story mode. The time I made JFK in the back alley, like something like fucking absolutely ludicrous. And the two like, anyway. I got some system pensions I need to assemble. I still haven't really started doing that. I am salivating at the new Luminef models, so I'm looking forward to building those. They're probably going to be terrible, but now I know that apparently Luminef are supposed to be Australians.
Yep.
So I'm thinking I'm just going to add some Foster beers on there somewhere on the models because it's only accurate for Americans that play a Canadian Australian, not Canadians. Australian.
I disagree. Those are not kangaroos.
No, they're like duck-billed dinosaurs.
Yeah, they're dinosaurs.
Did you not watch the Warmer Community video?
Yeah, but John
all I know is that kangaroos hop with 2 feet at the same time, and dinosaurs run.
They're like furry dinosaurs, but not furry as in like scientifically accurate feathered ones. They're like.
Yeah, I guess you're right. They're more like Velociraptor style running. That's fine. Well, the point I was trying to make is that like they had a Warmer Community video where they talked about like what do Luminef sound like, and the one guy's just like they sound like Australians. And I was just like,
what?
So
yeah. Wait, John, did you not watch the video?
I didn't watch the video. No,
you should.
Yeah, they're like, and then he does into it like the most offensive Australian like accent live on that.
Talking about like putting shrimp on the Barbie and shit like that, and you're like, okay.
Is this an English guy doing it?
Yeah, 100%.
That's bad. Like Americans, we can do bad Australian accents and not be offensive, but when an English person does it, that's some rude stuff.
That's some pretty rude shit. Yeah.
The equivalent of like an American doing like some kind of Texas or like Southern accent where they're like nowhere near that region because it's diminutive more than anything, and it was exactly that. It was like super diminutive. Anyway, I was blown away that legal, and then the marketing team was like, yeah, that's totally fine. This is a totally fine video. Maybe making mountains out of anthills here, but the point I was just like, they apparently, according to Warhammer, lore writers, they probably sound like they're Australian. So I think like a Foster and giant knives is in order because they got to wear their Crocodile Dundee style giant knives. So it would explain their exaggerated hats. That is for sure an element of the army. But no, I'm just my phase right now, hobby wise, is I'm just waiting for some stuff to come out because my sister's is needs to be a little bit finished painting. I've already talked Carl Payne into painting my Lumineth, so I'm excited to add these models to the lineup for the next big commission. Like at this point, I'm just doing like a Carl Payne commission a year. You know what? Like I love his work. He's a fabulous painter. I rather like it's like do I buy another army or do I just have Carl Payne painted? And I was like, at this point, I own enough armies. Like I think I'm approaching like I own an army for each army in Warhammer. So Games Workshop, please really stop releasing new army. Other than that,
no. They're like, no, I don't think I will. Do the Steve Rogers meme.
That's a bold claim, Mr. Vessier. That is a bold claim that you own an army for every army.
He doesn't.
I said close. I said close.
There are some armies we have where we can't actually get matchups in,
Yeah, but it's pretty close to that. Sorry, is my dog whining? Is that what's happening?
No.
Okay,
I don't hear a dog.
All right, perfect. Sounds good. Maybe it's just a Scotch talking to me, whispering me sweet nothings.
Yeah, you know what? I saw you were enjoying the Scotch. I decided to have a little bit of the Glenlivet 15 that you sent me for my birthday myself. Okay. I was waiting for you to pull out the Glenlivet 20 just to one-ups me once more.
No. Well, firstly, I want to point out I bought you an 18, which they didn't have, so you got a 15.
Fair.
I hope you got another bottle of that because I think the price difference probably could have allowed you for another bottle or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm getting low. I'm getting low.
We'll just have to wait for when's your next birthday?
Jeez, I don't know. I'm starting to run out of them, to be honest.
Well, last year was like 5 years. So, Jesus Christ. Wow, that's dark.
Dark shit, right?
It's dark. It's getting real dark here.
I love it, though. It's like it's dark, but like darkly funny, like British humor. Let's see. But anyway, enough about my face. Should we talk about some actual potato camera photos?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was looking at the models after you guys were having the discussion about, the dinosaur versus kangaroo and these new Lumineth models, right? The, we all thought maybe alpacas or, I was thinking war camels would be fucking cool. Ended up being neither. They decided to go a completely unique route. Now, here's the thing. I get John's totally right. Like these models are not hopping. They are running, but like, so you looking at it and you like being someone who's like read a biology book or like watched the Discovery Channel as a kid, that a giant red kangaroo has the exact same color scheme as these things. Like
the paint job, yes.
The paint job is a great red kangaroo.
They're an antelope, right? They're supposed to be closer to an antelope and the way they're
I don't know what the fuck they're supposed to be.
I thought the face was goaty. I thought it was a goat face with the little beard and the horns.
Yeah, it is a little goatee with like little fangs too. Fangs, like a little goat beard and horns.
Yeah, it's an antelope. Look up antelopes. Like the facial structure is very much an antelope, and they're supposed to be like fast. I
will say,
I've only seen an antelope once in the wild in California.
Two observations. One, there's a theme of the really, really bad giant headdresses that could not make any sense. They're continuing with that with antelope headdresses now too.
Oh, actually, to be honest, I didn't even pick up on that before. You're right. Oh my gosh.
I'm perfectly fine with those because historically speaking, they're dragoons wore giant helmets like this, very similar to that in terms of height. So like if it's mounted, I'm fine. It just looks weird when it's on foot units. It's just like that's kind of a strange like look on like the was it called Stone Guard or whatever it's called. But these like actually I'm fine. I find them perfectly fine. Like they just remind me of dragoon helmets from like Napoleonic
You know, there's going to be a close combat version too.
No, there isn't. There
You don't
already
think
is.
so?
There is already they already came out in the last box set. They're the
No,
Dawn
but
Riders.
these are like bigger than horses. I'm sure there's going to be like a heavy cav unit.
Oh
too.
no. There's no heavy cav in the elves thing. It's not.
We're going to find out on Saturday.
Now,
I
these
think
aren't
that
in
there's
the book, right? Are these in the book? These aren't in the book.
no, they're not in the
No,
book.
they're not.
No, they're not in the book.
Told you,
Same
John,
with the-
like like 3 months ago, man. Like they that book is just like a slight, like it's not the full army. It's just like this like weird thing that we're gonna just piecemeal the rest of this army out for the next like year, basically. And that's what they did.
Now, has everything from the book been released yet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this
So-
is completely incremental.
So this has got the Venari, that really, I actually think is it's my favorite Lumineth model. The new leader one too, the Venari.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Lord
He's
Regent.
Venari, Lord Regent. I think that you're going to see the cows. I think it's going to be a dual kit. And I don't think you're going to see, maybe you might see cows, you might not. It might just be a chest swap bit. And I think that you're going to see close combat elite cav with Venari, like making the other ones like a light cav.
They already exist. I'm telling you, the Dawn Riders are the melee unit. Like if you look at their profile, they're a melee unit. They're actually pretty good in melee. They're just like not taken because they're overpriced, like everything else in the Illuminative book.
Well, I'm going with
So-
another observation, and this is an observation that actually our friend Mr. Meth pointed out on Twitter. These Venari are the mounted, the kangaroo riders, right? The what are they technically called? They're called
Wind Riders or
Haitian
Windbreakers.
Huracan wind chargers.
Wind Chargers.
Yeah, Huracan.
Yeah.
Wind Chargers.
Like hurricane wind. Charge.
Okay, I get it. They look identical almost to the new Slanesh mounted larger version of a Seeker with a dude and a bow and arrow on top. So they're like you know how when OBR came out, they showed the Liege Cavalos and Clavos, and they were like, this is a twisted, mirrored image of the Lord Celestin on Dracoth. And they're very similar looking models. Same thing goes for this now. They're probably, not going to outright just blatantly show the models like they did with the OBR one. But, another thing that's probably on a larger oval, a two-legged creature, a two-legged creature that looks really swift, really fast, like bipedal, leaning forward, and a dude on top with a bow, right?
I can't see that as a reasoning. It's like, all right, what animals remind you of wind and speed? Horses? Can't do that. We already have a lot of that. Raptors? We already have those. So what the hell are you left with?
Alpacas.
I was gonna say, like, whatever this is. They went out of their comfort zone effectively. Like they went from like truly like a mythical creature that doesn't actually like exist in anywhere. Like I think is what ended up happening. It's because they still have the bloody goddamn cow looking like feel the horns. Like apparently I think
You're talking about the character, right? With the horn on it.
Yeah, well, even the regular wind chargers have horns. Like they're more antelope-y looking horns, but they still have horns, right? The whole like thing is like apparently every animal, spirit animal, wind and mountains have horns and ish apparently. And the Venari Lord region, I will say though, I have a feeling there's going to be more than one, and there's probably going to be one on an actual horse instead of whatever this is. I don't know what they're called actually. I don't have no term for them. But I'm guessing like they're gonna add more because the big gripe we've had like Illuminate for when we on the show is the fact that there's too many special characters and not enough actually not named characters, which are like not like these really kind of squishy wizard. So a lot of these command traits and relics just like don't make sense on like these models. So like now finally having a non-unique what looks like to be a melee character introduces a lot of like power plays with like some of these combos now. So we'll see what his profile is.
And And I
I'm
could see
guessing-
him cruising around with some Venari, what are they, the Dawn Riders, the horse guys? Yeah.
The Dawn Riders. Yeah, I could see that too. I definitely could. And almost that was a big problem also with the Dawn Riders is they almost had like no supporting heroes because nothing was
right.
fast enough. They had nothing fast other than Techless. Like that was the only option that could like keep up with them there effectively. So it was just kind of like I don't know, like the army felt incomplete. This is a nice new introduction, but to be honest, the last thing I wanted to see was more shooting.
Right. Yeah.
Please stop with the shooting units.
Also we're going back to like the wonderful age of like cavalry is notoriously hard for them to balance. It's usually overcosted and not very good. And then so you're taking elite shooting like Kurnoth hunters and stuff, which is hard to balance and just overcosted and not very effective. And then so you're combining them. So you're going to have these heavy cavalry archers that are probably going to be overcosted and ineffective.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't know if they'd be heavy cavalry though.
Who
I don't
knows?
think.
They're
Right?
probably
I don't
going to
think
be taken in like they're still going to be expensive though, and probably 3 wounds a pop with a 4-up save.
Yeah, well, that's where I get into. I mean, what makes heavy cavalry? Does it have to
4-up
be a 3-up
save.
save,
Four
Heavy
up.
is
4-up
4-up
save,
save.
5-up
Yeah.
save?
So typically heavy cav is a 3-up save at 8-inch movement is the description, and then you
That's
have
some
a
super heavy cavalry.
right that's heavy cavalry, and then like the more like fast cav is 4-up 14-inch movement, or medium of the range cavalry, and then you have fast cavalry which is 14 and 5-up save or 16-inch movement.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm going with when we start looking at the Kangaroo boys. Do you think they're going to be a
14-inch.
14-inch unit?
14-inch
They're gonna
move,
be-
4-up save.
You think
They're going to
so?
be the same as Dawn Riders, and then the 4-up save they just have a probably an extra wound and an only range weapons.
Yeah.
These are not going to be the only things that Lumineth are going to have. They said straight up, like, you're going to be really excited about Saturday's preview. I'm sure. I honestly hope that they show Tyrion. That would be cool. But I'm sure that
would
there's
be
like at least
amazing.
I'm sure there's at least 2 or 3 more models besides the ones that were, or 2 or 3 more units besides the ones that were being shown.
I would love to them to do an entire new like element, like do water or wind. Like that's the problem, right? We only have like mostly earth and Venari. It would be nice to have another element. Like it would be cool to see what the battle cow version of wind would be like, or river or whatever. Because that's basically how the entire like Lumineth faction breaks. That there's like 5 elements.
Yeah.
There's only
Yeah,
4,
very
but there's
original.
the Venari is like the 5th one, effectively in a sense.
The 5th element of love
yeah,
is love.
it's
The
not-
5th element.
Not for them. I think it's just straight up like knowing warfare.
Murder. Murder is the 5th
Murder.
element.
For them,
Murder,
murder is the
murder.
5th
Very
element.
canite. Very canite.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Elves are all nice and good, and I really want to. I want Shadow Elves later in the year because I originally said I wanted to play them, especially playing all the Dark Elves, and I probably will if they come out like in late 2021. I'll probably start them anyways. But another thing's going on in the preview, and that is the
elves
fact-
have flesh on their bodies, right?
yeah. I play Seraphon. They have flesh on their bodies.
Oh, okay.
Well, they almost have an exoskeleton if you play Coalesce.
Yeah. Well, they have scaly skin.
But
you
come
know,
on. No, Alex, we don't need another elf faction. We need some destruction.
but they're in the fluff. They're in the thing. Malaran exists. He's eventually going to get an army. Say all you want. There's going to be more elves on the way.
I
is
need
what it
more
is.
destruction. I need more destructions. Like this.
Yeah, we all need more destruction.
yeah.
Destruction's super underrepresented. Oh, Gargants.
They got a new army. They got a big army this year.
They got a big army, a big unsustainable army. Yeah. So anyways, the year that Garrett got #1 ITC for
When
Age of
was that
Sigmar,
again?
2017? 2017.
17? Yeah.
2017. So that was my very first LVO playing with my Death army, and it was before Death had any battle tome whatsoever. And my army was 23 models large. No, 23
I love
models
that.
large.
Large.
Mhm. Exactly. I'm 32 years young. So it was a Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon. It was 2 units of 5 Blood Knights. It was 9 Vargheists, and it was 3 Vampire Lords on horse. And it was all swift death. These are the rules in the rule book for there were 3 different sub factions of death besides Grand Alliance that were allowed, but there was no tome. So you could either play Night Hunt, you could play Flesh Eater Courts, or you could play Soul Blight. And so I played, it was really funny. It was like on day 1, my very final round, I brought my army and it was all swift death. So everything was +2 or 3 move and everything had fly. Everything had fly. It means like Blood Knights were really fast and they all had fly, which was helpful. And the Warlord trait for the Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, who now moved an absurd amount of distance, was retreat and charge. So you give him the fucking ethereal amulet. He's running around. He's retreating. He's giving people a bad time. But my 3rd game of LVO, and I keep on thinking about this, was I think it was like Barrack Zilfin or whatever. It was the one where you get bonuses against fly keyword or monsters. And I was like, oh, he's like, so do I get +1 to hit against all your stuff? And while we're deploying, in like the 15 minutes it takes to deploy our armies, he asks me that like 3 or 4 times. And the final time he goes, I put a Vampire Lord Dragon. He's like, does he have fly? I like look at him. I like stop what I'm doing. And I just like look at him because I already know how the game's going to go. So I fought against KO at that time. And it was like KO when they first came out. I was like, everything has fly. Every single model I'm bringing has fly. All the models I'm bringing to this game today, they all happen to have the fly keyword and they all get to fly in the game itself. And then he's just like, oh, okay. Okay. And then like it dawned on him that he was going to just kick the shit out of me. And then like 20 minutes later, I was done with the game. I'm excited for Soul Blight is what I'm trying to say. They were my first army. They were my babies. And I loved painting up a bunch of vampires. And we're going to get Soul Blight now. Soul Blight Grave Lords.
Which honestly, I think that Grave Lords is very important because this kind of goes towards what I think should happen. And it's my prediction is that they're going to bring in skeletons and zombies and necros and all the things that are left and get rid of Legions of Nagash. That book needs to go.
Did you see that Legion of Grief, I think, is no longer legal again? I need to double check.
I don't know why that would be true, but like, I mean, yeah, they just need to get rid of Legions of Nagash. Like, it needs to go away. Legions of Nagash is just a holdover for Manfred and Neferata, 2 Soul Blight heroes, which Archon and Nagash got an OBR update. There's no reason Manfred and Neferata shouldn't get a Soul Blight update.
That's fair.
And then you have Death Rattle, which is just Black Knights, Graveguard, White Kings, and Skeletons. Guess what? The Grave Lords can easily bring in the Skeletons. And then you have, what are they called? The zombies. I forget what they're called.
Flesh Eater?
No. The actual zombie faction is called, like, the keyword for zombies is, like, death something. I don't know. But it's basically zombies and corpse carts.
Zombies is, Mordants. No. Deathwalkers.
Deathwalkers. That's what Deadwalkers. Yeah. So Deadwalkers is zombies and corpse carts. And then Death Mages is Necros and the Thrones, not the dead Necro in the Throne. I forget what he's called.
And I want to inject in saying while I'm excited for vampires, I am very glad that they released the photos of the Warband vampire model, or sorry, the Warhammer Underworld's vampire model, because I will be honest, that vampire model they launched Warhammer Community. I mean, the model was like sculpt looks fine. The paint job is just garbage. Holy shit! Like I could paint that paint job, and I was just like, I wonder what the hell happened for that model, because like I don't know, did they give it to an intern or something? Like
Probably.
Because like it just like the hair, the skin. There's almost like
it's not that bad, dude. I think you're being.
There's no definition. It looks like you took a photo of somebody with like super high like flash. Like it's just like blurs out any definition.
Okay, but there's clear highlights. There's clear edge highlights where that's not necessarily easy.
It's like a watch was not used. Basically, it looks like
you don't like the transition with the hair.
About 8 inch. No, if you blow the picture up to the model is about 8 inches tall, you can see all the detail they put into it. When you look at it, in the little 1-inch tall you see it, I agree. You see nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. It just feels like, yeah, any different hair color than the red would have been probably fine. The white skin tone, but the red, like the very bright red hair, just like I don't know, blend like.
Oh, you're not talking. Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about the
the
Warhammer
Underworld model
one.
looks great.
I was like, what is wrong with you?
Oh, the Underworld's model looks amazing. The one that they put in to get, they painted up and posted up for the Warhammer community potato.
Yeah, there's not a lot of definition to the skin. The hair looks like it's base coated. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, you have to blow it way up to see that detail. And if
shield,
you blow it way up, you see that they put like amazing detail into the bats, and like the mace has like battle wear and damage on it. Like there's actually some really nice paint job, but it doesn't play well unless you zoom in.
Also, not to piss off Alex a bit more. So the Warhammer Underworld's photo, what you'll notice is that the vampire, her weapons are typical Corsair pirate weapons. Just want to point that out. So there
are bloodlines. There are going to be bloodlines again.
I'm just saying, you're probably going to get like vampire pirates.
I think that there's going to be a bloodline of vampire pirates.
As long as
I'm sorry, what?
As long as we get vampires. I don't care if it has to be a bloodline. We just need vampires.
Do we really?
We don't need vampires.
No,
but you're not going to see.
They would have like a chip terrain piece that you could put on the table.
Almost like you can split it. Yeah. You can split it into two, or you can bring two whole ones in a game.
You can call in the Davy Jones' locker, and you just summon a ghost ship into the battle.
See, if they did vampirates, they would. I think they would be a sub. It would be like a sub release with like these grave lords, and it would be like one of the bloodlines. And they're obviously not going to do like the Vampire Coast thing with all the Vampire Coast units that are like unique to that to Total War, like the fucking the giant hermit crab, or the little hermit crab riders, or the big giant golem made out of shipwreck. Like you're not going to see that kind of stuff.
But that's exactly what I want. I do want the big ship gargant on the table. That's amazing.
Or like depth guard. Yeah. You would see depth guard. You would see that. You wouldn't. I don't think you'd see like blunderbuss people or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see if they're gonna get a terrain piece as well, because Lumineth didn't get a terrain piece.
Yeah.
Sons of Behemoth didn't get a terrain piece. So like the last two battle tomes didn't get a terrain piece. So I'm wondering if this new faction will also get a terrain piece, which will be cool. I mean, like I don't have a problem with terrain pieces, but if it's gonna be a giant boat, I can't wait to see a Deepkin versus like that army faction.
I'm sure there's gonna be like an altar. I'm sure there's gonna be like an altar or some shit. Like
well,
I'm thinking,
let's be
the
real.
Whole vampire castle. It's actually 2 feet by 3 feet.
Well,
the Dark Angel Fortress.
Tzeentch didn't get a terrain feature. KO doesn't have a terrain feature. Cities of Sigmar doesn't have it. There's a lot of factions that haven't gotten.
Oh yeah, in the last year they haven't gotten a terrain feature.
It was literally just Seraphon and OBR.
That's typical GW. I describe it as rather than steady on the rudder, they like shove the rudder all the way to the right and then yank it all the way to the left. To port to starboard, to port to starboard. Back and forth, and that's what we see. It's like, boom, every army needs to have a terrain piece. Okay, no armies have terrain pieces.
Yeah.
It's
I'm okay with certain ones not having them. Like there are some mechanically that don't need them. Like there's no reason why giants need one, right? They're an army that doesn't, like, it would be hard to fit a mechanic. You'd be trying to.
Think about it this way. What if it's a rock that they get to throw down the field?
Yes.
That actually be really fucking funny. Holy shit.
Lands and has property wherever it lands.
Shit.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. That's a fantastic fucking terrain piece. But so like okay, you can stretch ideas and you can make a terrain piece for every faction, right? Night Hunt doesn't have one, and they came out when they were already, terrain pieces, right? But they were, at the time, they were a really mobile army that was about jumping all around the board, and a lot of the terrain pieces at the time were like ones that were getting benefits around you being nearby it, right? They were like the Loon Shrine or the Herdstone and stuff. So it was like, well, I'm thinking from the game developer's side of things, it was like there'd be no reason to have something where the Night Hunt need to stay near it. Maybe want something that they could go to, but like mechanically it was like, this is an army that doesn't need a terrain piece.
I disagree with that entirely.
Yeah.
You can disagree all you want, but there's still no terrain piece for Nighthawk.
I see little graveyards all over.
Oh,
Like,
technically,
sites.
Just because it's a static model doesn't mean it has to be designed with rules that are static.
technically, every army in Age of Sigmar has a terrain piece
Oh, the
for
Penumbral engine.
for points.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone has access to
I'm
the
sorry, it's
Penumbral
talking
engine.
about free terrain because the Penumbral engine costs 100 points.
Yeah, I know. Everyone gets a free terrain or terrain piece for
Not
100
agree.
points.
That's another way. Add point costs to all the terrain pieces. There's
That'd be weird.
there's my first prediction for AOS 3.0. Point costs on all faction terrain.
Mm-mm.
No.
Hmm.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Oh, you don't like it? Oh, you that's it. I have one fucking idea. You just poo-poo on it.
Yeah. It's not even that your idea is bad. I actually like your idea. The problem is like they want to sell terrain features.
Oh,
So like I'll give you an example. There's a couple of terrain features you'll never see on the table because if you give them points, there were like no reason to take them. Like the Fire Slayer one,
The
not
ogre
really
one?
much of a reason. Not really much of a reason. The ogre one definitely not. So
No, you
Like,
just never
this is
see
the
the ogre
problem.
one.
there's
is that the
There's
new
like-
spot?
Like the Loon Shrine, if you had to pay for that, that's like a tax. Because if you don't have the Loon Shrine,
yeah
that
the
gets,
the
like,
points are already included in the rest of the other units. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know that we're going to a smaller board in 3.0.
yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that. I
Me
think that's
too.
much better for the game. It will make a hyper aggressive armies that much better.
Yeah, like I mean, people say that it'll make shooting better because like everything will be in range, but I'm like, if you look at
Dude,
40K,
everybody's already in range.
if you look at 40K, melee got way better in 40K as far as
In a shorter
like,
map, yep.
Like I'm noticing it's a lot easier in 40K to get across the board than it used to be. And so it's like
I can actually have a close combat unit start on the board and get to its destination.
But
And also
that
it's-
has a lot to do with the changes in terrain for 40K too. One, upping the recommended amount of terrain and having more rules with terrain that do protect your units better as they go across.
But they also get from one end to the like if you charge up a left flank, you can actually reach the right flank in a reasonable amount of time rather than you're on the left flank, you can get to the center of the board maybe.
Right, yeah. If you
Like-
don't have a hyper fast army, the smaller
Yeah.
board definitely helps you. I
Actually-
mean, that's one of the
actually-
things that I always design around is those high mobility units just because of the board size.
Yeah.
There's two things I would like about literally the progression of topics we went through here. Smaller board, yes, does allow shooting to have a smaller scope of range, but it also increases the ability of range melees to apply pressure, melee units to apply pressure to range army. And secondly, maybe this is why faction terrain is important, because if you give all armies faction terrain that is somehow obscuring, like the reason why people complain about like smaller tables is like, oh, they can snipe out my heroes, because in AOS, you don't have a lookout sort of mechanic like in 40K. But if you just make all faction terrain like block line of sight, then like people are gonna be like, okay, I can still hide my like. Only today, like very few units get to ignore line of sight unless you're Lumineth, but that's still a thing. Like if you just, the reason why 40K is so like incredibly successful in that is because of the introduction of straight up line of sight blockers. So if you're worried about that in AOS, just make faction terrain block line of sight like the Sylvaneth one. Just
Well, to be-
that's just
To be fair, a lot of faction terrain counts as obstacles, which I think is one of those rules that just every fucking player forgets about until someone goes, "Oh, well, that's an obstacle, so I get +1 save even though I'm not on terrain." And and that's exactly what it is. If you're shooting at something and at least 1 millimeter of any part of the unit touches any 1 millimeter of any part of the target unit, and it goes over the obstacle, that unit is +1 armor save.
Alex,
As
As
when was
long
the
as
last-
every model in the unit's within an inch.
I was gonna say, when was the last time you got shot by a unit at long range, where like the +1 save actually mattered?
Yeah, there's that.
It mattered quite a bit with OBR. I'd like put the fucking thing down and I'd put my guys out in the open and like my
Yeah,
opponents.
you
would
mean
shoot
your
at
bone, your bone, what's it called? The little
Bone type
the little
nexus.
cast. No, the little solo caster was just like, oh, thank God,
Exactly.
nothing with range. Thank God, of nothing with mortal rune output or -2 rend is shooting me, because that's about the only things that's gonna shoot him anyway.
Yeah, and also with a smaller board, it makes deep strike mechanics and teleport mechanics less necessary because you're not there's going to be less space to deep strike because you can cover the board more easily with so much less square footage, and two, you don't need Deep Strike anymore to get from one end of the board to the other, because a smaller board means that foot sloggers can actually cover distance. So
Yeah.
I really like that, because I think one of the problems right now, like with KO, why everyone is like freaking out about KO, I think it's less to do about their damage output. It's more about their positioning, where they can.
They're literally everywhere.
It's not that they're literally everywhere. They literally are wherever they
it
need
is.
to be at any moment. Like, oh, I
Yes.
need to kill that unit over there. I'm there. I need to kill
Yeah.
this unit over here. I'm there. I can sneak around this building. I need to jump on that objective. They can, and same thing with non-coalesced Seraphon. They just teleport wherever they need to put their unit that they need there.
Arborn. Yeah.
So it's like it's just making teleport mechanics less approachable by having a smaller board so you can block off things. The problem is that it does make it harder to do deeper screens. You can't be farther back off and have a wider screen forward. So there is that, but I think hopefully with AOS, they look at some mechanics that make it easier to hide support heroes.
Well, I mean, 3.0 could also introduce progressive scoring, which is something that AOS, like we're talking about secondary objectives from 40K, like an element of that being introduced.
Yeah,
like
because AOS is all about progressive scoring already.
Yes,
What
But
they need
it's-
is more formalized secondary, tertiary, and bonus objectives.
Yeah.
And
Also,
then maybe
a more structured mission packet in general, so that
Yeah.
it doesn't. So it's not like, oh, which mission did we draw to get today? Like, oh, did you pick 3 places of power? Get fucked. Like,
there should be no missions that like I appreciate the AOS. No, look, 3 places of power has like they designed missions to basically reward balanced
Yes.
army design.
Yes, and if you fucked up and you brought like 2 heroes and nothing else, that's on you. That's fucking
Or
on you.
brought a faction that doesn't support balanced army type.
yeah,
You make it
Well,
balanced. You make it work. You make it work.
But in John's point, like until this year, I would argue that was not necessarily the case. But this
Yeah.
year's army have been kind of like it's hard to make a balanced army. You got Lumineth, very limited options for heroes, and you got Sons of Behemoth, which are basically like the complete opposite of a balanced army.
not only that, it's the issue of when you have your entire scoring mechanic built around only certain specific units can score. In a game where shooting is unbelievably prevalent, you just snipe out all the scoring units and you're screwed. You could have brought 6 heroes and they just be like, bing, bam, boom, you're dead.
Yeah, you have to bring unkillable heroes. in
Yeah,
shooting.
it's like, so I feel like it ends up having a more structured mission system that makes it so that there is, a better competitive feel to the missions rather than
Agreed.
luck of the draw on what mission you played. So it's more about the armies playing than the mission you're playing.
And also possibly also making sure like what I really like about the GHB and 40K, or sorry, the GT pack, the book and 40K, is that at least there's a minimum of 5 objectives on every mission. It's usually 6 with potential of 5. And one of my worst feels bad missions are the ones where it's like in AOS is like where there's 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Like
or
when it's
one.
that like very binary, it's just not good. It comes especially because of the double turn mechanic. Like you can literally just like, all right, I won the initiative and I position. If I win the initiative, I win the game. It doesn't even matter if I kill anything. It's just
I mean, yeah, that was my main problem with Relocation Orb. I actually didn't give a shit about the moving objective. It was the fact that there was only one objective.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
was like,
multiple moving objectives might be sexy.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it was the fact like when you go to score, you're both fighting over a single objective, which over the course of the game, basically, oh, well, you'll basically trade off. So whoever goes second more often wins because there's only one objective to play for. So we may as well just both get it every turn. And I got more second turns, and second player gets 3 points and first player gets 1. So you lost because you lost initiative rolls. Like
Yeah,
that's
that's how I beat Jack at that tournament up in Portland that one time. Was basically
City?
every turn trading it back and forth, and he didn't realize that I was getting 3 points every turn.
That's exactly what happened to our good friend.
At
He
the-
was- yeah, Bashby. Well, he also like tabled his opponent. And it was
Yeah.
like, well, I'm gonna win. It's turn 4, and you have like 3 skinks left. And he's like, no, actually, like I am the
But-
captain now.
But the whole point of the talking about like we've been kind of hinting at the things we want in 3.0. One of the things I actually really want in 3.0 is no longer a choice if you win initiative. You have to take the top of the turn.
Oh, is that because of what happened in our 40K game in the FAQ?
Yeah, I think it's great. Like remove
No,
some
I like the
agency.
utility. If you win that roll off, man, you get to choose.
That
Nope.
gives too much power to one person.
That gives way too much power to one person. That
Was
is
2021 the year of no more power to one person?
Yeah.
But it's the
No.
most fair roll off in the game.
Exactly. It's like think about it this way: you're rolling to see who goes first every turn, which in 40K is only once, but in AOS it'd be 5 times.
Yeah,
and
I see what you're saying.
I-
make it to where it is a random decision, a luck element,
Actually,
but not a tactical element.
Yeah.
I completely
exactly.
take back everything I just said. I am fully on board. I just realized how often I want to go fucking second, and my opponent goes, "You go first." Like
Yeah.
9 times
because
out
he
of
won
10.
the roll.
What?
Because he won the roll, so he gets
Yeah,
to
'cause he-
decide.
He's like,
Yeah,
you know what? I want you to go first so that I can double turn you.
Yeah,
So no,
so,
you're completely right. You're completely right. My knee
It's a
jerk reaction.
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
saying it's a 50% chance that a person gets a very valuable decision versus a 50% chance of just you going first. Like it's
Yeah.
actually a huge impact. And so eliminating, so if you're going to keep the priority rule, yeah, make it so that if you win, you have to go first. I like that.
I still want people to be able to, like, if I deploy you, I get to choose who goes first on turn 1. But on turn 2, it's a complete just dice up for who goes second. Because like if I'm playing KO, right, and I'm playing Caradon Overlord, and I deploy you, and I go bottom of the turn, and then I win the dice roll to who goes first next turn, it changes none of my strategy, right? Because effectively, I would want to go again because it gives me 2 turns in a row. But if I win the dice roll in this new format, I still get to do that. But there's some armies in the later half of the game, when you think about like turn 3 and turn 4, where being able to remove that agency in the decision making allows the game to feel like it has a much closer and positive experience. Because like I have so many games where basically I won the dice roll on turn 3, I just won the game in AOS because they have these sudden death mechanics where like if you do this on turn 3 and you get these objectives, you win the game. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, you win the roll off, and then you decide whether you go first or second to your advantage at that moment.
Exactly. And then the worst part is like I've played games where I'm like, I know it's a sudden death mechanic. If I go top of turn 2, I have the winning percentage of just ending the game right there. So I make decisions like there's just a bunch of decisions where I feel like if you remove the agency from that element, the game doesn't necessarily fundamentally changes. It just removes the feels bad of the roll, because then the player only blames the roll and not the person making the decision. It's purely an aesthetic. Like
I mean, I never blamed the person. It makes sense. It's like, oh boy, my army doesn't want to go first, and then you're like, you go first. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but that's the problem in some of these missions is that they completely reward this kind of shenanigans.
Mhm.
Like they completely reward the idea of like, I won the dice roll for initiative once or maybe twice, and that's what decided the game effectively.
For the sake of argument, though, there is that utility of sure, like going first and second is choosing to go first or second can either put you or put your opponent at an advantage. But then there is something to be said about like having an army that clearly is meant to go, say, second, and then being forced to go first, and playing in a way where that's actually a better choice for you in that scenario. So your opponent choosing you to go first, for example, actually made them lose the game.
Yeah, but that's the agency and deployment. That's my point. Like if I'm a KO player, like this is a completely example of a KO player where they absolutely need to go.
Are you a KO
second
player?
on turn? I mean, I played.
He's
KO.
got. I mean, he's got a KO.
I have Dapple. I am the oldest KO player in this group. Thank you very much.
He's a veteran KO player.
But the point I'm saying is, that entire agency is decided upon list building at the start. Because if I'm playing KO, and this is the problem statement I have, I want to make sure I minimize the amount of drops I have on the table to make sure I get to decide to go second on turn 1, versus just kind of like a dice roll off from the turn 2. Like if you're like, you know what, I play a meta with a lot of KO, I'm going to design a list to counter that by basically bringing less drop than what a KO army can bring, which is actually very unreasonable, but it is an option. There's an agency element, but it's an agency element with some real decision-making costs versus just a dice roll that you just basically decide based on the result.
Well,
Like you
I would
have to
also
invest.
argue, Jeremy, I agree with what you're saying with the agency of it, right? That's what you're talking about. But part of that, I think, is that the ability to decide plays in favor of the more experienced player, right?
Oh yeah,
when you talk
100%.
to less experienced AOS players, casuals, and people who have tried the game, the number one thing they point to for the feel bad experience is that, alternating turn mechanic, right? And so if you make it completely random to where you don't have the more experienced player gaming the situation against you, I think it will also take away from that feel badsies of the newer player experience.
To completely echo that statement and sentiment, our listener and friend Ben Schmoller gave me a book from a very well-known poker player to read so I could be better at poker. And one of the advice that he gives about, like, if you're playing against better poker players, is basically to remove as much agency as possible out of that better poker player. And some of the ways they do it is by consistently go big or go home. Like, because if you keep going all in, it's hard for them to have any option on the table to gauge like what your play style is and so forth. So you're just constantly like in a position where you're removing the agency of a better player from making good decisions, because you're just saying this is 1 or 0. This is the only options you have left. There is no breadth in between those options. And that situation, by having this initiative roll being rolled to the highest person wins the initiative and has to go first, you're removing a lot of that agency for the better player. I mean, to be honest, like I like to think I'm a better player, so like it removes some of my
the numbers
agency.
might support you in that. Three out of 4 of the people on this show have the numbers behind their rankings to say that they're pretty good.
Yeah, I'm just saying I appreciate if Games Workshop actually truly cared about making this game faster and more balanced for the general audience, this would be a major change to achieve that. Like because how often do you hear like a 40K player talk about AOS and they're like, I don't like AOS because of the random turn initiative mechanic. I actually love the random turn mechanic. The only tweak I would change is that whoever rolls highest wins the initiative, and that's who goes first in the turn. And that's it.
I hear you, because what I know is that gaming that mechanic is a huge part of what I do with my army. And so, like I said, it taking that away, yeah, I will find other mechanics to work with, but the fact that I am gaming that system.
And then
I share John's sentiment completely with that.
But in sudden death army, because we have sudden death missions. So let's say they remove the sudden death missions, right? Is that such a feel bad mechanic anymore? Probably not. But there is
no, because getting double turned at choice is always a feel bad mechanic, and having it happen to you randomly still softens that blow potentially. My guess.
I'm giving you, even on the double turn mechanic. Let me give you an example. I'm playing once again Carrot on Overload to be consistent. I'm going second on turn 1, and I'm in a I did my maneuvering considerably to score points and not necessarily table you, remove all the threat elements, and I win the initiative roll on turn 2. Now you have literally no threats to my units on the table because I played so conservatively and I'm still scoring points. There is no incentive for me to give you to make myself go first. So now I'm giving myself a better board position because there is no threat. It's just literally like, or if it is a threat, it's incredibly unlikely to happen. So I'm just basically timing my initiative rolls, right? I'm always going to be reactive to your actions, and that's what armies like KO do so well in the game. Is they can play completely reactive until the initiative roll, and then boom, all of a sudden they can be actionary based on that dice roll, and that's a feel bad element for many matchups because they're like, I feel like I'm chasing a flying chicken with its head cut off, and that's basically what it can feel like against
until it
KO.
turns around and bites you on the ankle.
All of a sudden it's found its head. It's got talons.
Yeah, it bites
But
you
the
in the
point-
ankle, you fall down, and it pecks your eyes out. Ah!
but that's the point though. Like, it's if you remove that agency out of the equation, at least I think it would make people like still hate initiative rolls, but not as much, right? At the end of the day, we're never going to cure the hatred for initiative rolls, even though it's a good mechanic. They're just going to feel like they didn't get taken advantage by the person
Right.
who won the initiative roll, right?
That's what I'm saying. It works for the less experienced player. As far as liking, the priority on each turn, man, that is a dividing line in the sand. I find few people are meh. I don't care, whatever. No, it's you either. Oh yeah, that is cool. That's one of the things I really like about AOS. Or what? Initiative every turn? What the hell is that? It's like, no, in 40K, you complain that the first turn initiative gives you a huge advantage. But if you do initiative on every turn, first turn initiative doesn't matter as much.
I want to point out though, like, because of the Warhammer 40K fact that came out like 2 weeks ago, and how they changed fifth round scoring for primary.
Oh, right.
That's a byproduct of not having initiative rolls.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's literally a byproduct for not having initiative rolls. It's
That's
because in initiative rolls create a dynamic and fluid situation for scoring. When you have going first and second be completely linear, it makes the person going second have less likely of a chance to win, especially in the framework that the second person cannot score on turn 5, right?
Yeah.
So if you had initiative rolls in 40K, you would not have this problem, but we're never going to see that in 40K. So
what do you think about, especially with the meta right now being nothing but like heavy shooting?
the reason why in 40K it's not a problem, because to be honest, the lookout sir mechanic has never really been a problem in 40K. It's just the fact that, by the way, if I'm talking too much, you guys need to just write it in chat. I've been like looking at the chat box because I see people typing. I'm like, is somebody like tell me to?
Nobody's
Get a
chatting.
word in edgewise on you, Jeremy. That's how it is. Can't get a word in edgewise. We've all given up. We're all just sitting here seething and staring at you, wishing that we could express our thoughts and feelings, but instead feeling oppressed and suppressed by your dominant verbal tactics.
There you go.
No, it's because I'm drinking now, so I'm just gonna be like very loose.
There you go. So I got to ask you guys, with of course the shooting meta in full force still, and having it be so strong, do you guys think that in 3.0 there's going to be a little bit more protection for maybe like characters? I'm thinking 40K style character targeting. Do you think that might exist in 3.0?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see it. I would like to see some kind of a character protection or lookout sir mechanic on the surface, but it needs to have some real limits. Like, one of the things in 40K is lookout sir doesn't apply to characters over 10 wounds. And with AOS, there is a dividing line at that 10 wound mark, right? Isn't it that above 10 wounds, we tend to have degrade tables, and below 10 wounds, we don't tend to have degrade tables? So
also, you're not -1 to hit anymore. That lookout sir is -1. Yeah.
Not 10 wounds. It's monster is the only thing that breaks.
Oh, it's monster.
It's a keyword. Yeah. So what I would see is some kind of a wound-based mechanic, though. Keyword monster, behemoth kind of stuff would be more AOS-y. I would just like it to see limited to characters of 8 wounds and less. And I say 8 wounds and less because there's actually some pretty sexy, I think 9 and 10 wound characters that maybe you don't want to.
I mean, for me, for AOS, it comes down to range, and the way I would describe it is, I know it's going to be like people are going to disagree with that, but like non-monster key like characters, like you can't target them unless they're like within half range of your ranged weapons or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's the idea. It's the idea of like. Sorry.
Yeah, as I say, you could also do it just like the Skaven battle tome does it, right? Where if you take the warlord trait, where when the warlord would take a wound, you roll like basically like a 5 up, and then the wound goes to an adjacent unit.
So
Yeah,
give everybody another bodyguard save.
Yeah,
like Fire Slayers have the same mechanic on a 4 for Herf card, not Herf cards. I forgot what they're called now.
Or
God.
Hearthguard.
Or Herf card. Thank you.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
like
played
that
them in
idea
that
too.
long.
To me, that's what's missing in 40K. Like in 40K, you can't target the character, but like if I knew there was a character at the back of the squad of Marines, I'd still open up at the character and I might take down a couple of the Marines on the way, right? And so that's what I like with that kind of a mechanic. It's more sort of realistic. It's suggestive of the character running around. He's hard to hit, but not.
Well, it once again though, I think it comes down to the problem of like there's a lack of terrain rules in AOS for dealing with shooting. It just comes down to that for me. It's just like the reason why in 40K it's not a problem, because to be honest, the lookout sir mechanic has never really been a problem in 40K. It's just the fact that now they've introduced so much more line of sight blocking mechanics, so it's easier to hide a character and also throw a unit out of position from lookout sir, right? Like because like there's, to be honest, like it's a lot more forgiving now to just basically make a character out of, like prevent him to be shot at, but just keeping him straight out of line of sight and not necessarily have to worry about keeping a unit within 3 inches of the character.
Oh, right.
In AOS, the issue is that like even if you keep the character within 3 inches, it's only a -1 to hit.
Yeah.
And now they've introduced a lot of mechanics, which is just like, I do mortal wounds on 6s to hit, irregardless if I'm hitting or not. So it's just like, why? Like it's the reason why characters get to die now is because armies have that option. Just make them not targetable. That's it.
And as I say, and AOS still has way less terrain than 40K, right? We have a 4x6 table in AOS with 10 pieces of terrain on it. Exactly 10 pieces of terrain on it. In 40K, under the current recommendations, we have a smaller table with between 12 and 16 pieces of terrain on it. So you at the baseline have more terrain and it's on a smaller table. Plus,
well, you could argue it's not
additional rules. And I won't argue that AOS lacks rules for terrain. It just has weird rules for terrain, fun narrative rules for terrain, not realistic mechanics of how terrain might interact in a battle.
This is something where when everyone talks about number of pieces of terrain, this is one thing I actually really liked about Malifaux. Malifaux says a third of the board should be covered in terrain. They don't give a shit how many pieces. They just put a percentage of the board needs to be covered. Like it
used to be that way.
Yeah, it used to be that way. And it's just like, why are we going with number of pieces? It should just be like 2/3 of your board should be covered in terrain, like flat there. Like
it used to be a D3 of terrain for every 2x2 section.
I was talking about Hard Boys GT. Do you remember the Hard Boys GT from 40K? The packet used to say the tables need to have 25% terrain.
Yeah, they used
to.
So way back in
and it's a good mantra. And I was going to say, to argue to John's point, like when you take in faction terrain, which is not a thing that used to exist in 40K but does now, because really AOS 2.0 is comparable to the last edition of 40K. You had about proximity-wise the same amount of terrain on the table. It's just that the difference is that now we've transitioned to actually giving terrain rules in 40K versus AOS hasn't quite caught up to that like mechanic yet.
Right.
Because I'll be honest, like I said, the only thing that needs to matter is giving some terrain, blocking a line of sight for characters, and you're good, because you at least now have, it's about maneuvering. If you want to shoot that character, you have to figure out a way to maneuver to see that character. But now it's just kind of like, it doesn't matter. Like you have entire armies that don't care about maneuvering. They're just like, I'll pick that guy.
Yeah, and I
that guy's gonna die.
And definitely don't go with the straight up overgrown rule, because while the overgrown rule is nice, if you have fly, you ignore it. Guess who all has fly? KO all has fly. Starborn Seraphon can, like, Crow can just give anybody fly.
Well,
Zinchal
just
has
any
fly.
Slan
any
can.
slam, any
Yeah,
slam.
Yeah, Slan can give out fly. Zinchal has fly. So it's like a lot of these shooting armies have a lot of fly. So
You
Overgrown
know what
is
army has no
fucking
fly
worth-
keyword? No fly keyword?
Skaven.
Skaven.
Fire Slayers.
Yes.
No, well,
Fire
wait, what
Skaven,
about
Skaven.
Doom Wheel? Doom Wheels can jump over people, can't they?
They don't have fly though.
Okay.
They don't have
Okay.
fly.
They actually literally run them over on the ground.
Yeah, but did they? How do they actually move over models? Is it
They're
like
the poor man's flight.
They move through them. all.
Sons of Behemoth don't have fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. For now, we're gonna get a winged giant.
Imagine if Sons of Behemoth
Ogres.
came out of like with thermal
Ogres have no
cloak,
fly.
thermal rider cloak on a giant.
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
would have been amazing.
You can't
But
do
yeah,
that, right?
yeah, having terrain that is just like flat, like if trees is like, you just can't shoot through this at all. I would say back when I first started playing Sylvaneth before KO and Seraphon became a thing, I really did use my trees a lot as line of sight blockers and shooting lists, and it changed the game a ton. Like, you had to move and you had to figure out your fire lanes and you had to like actually like plan out where you're going to shoot and like do all that stuff. And it was a really interesting game. It's why I really liked Sylvaneth as a faction. But now that everything has fly, I'm just like, well, you just kill me and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If I was good, like, honestly, like, it boils, like, when we're talking about it, it's just dawned upon me. They should, in AOS, they should just change the lookout sort of mechanic. Instead of being a -1 to hit, just being, you have to reroll all successful hits. So depending on like what ends up, how elite your army is at shooting, it drastically cuts down the 6's mortal wounds and the 5/6's mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
character,
yeah,
'cause-
but if you have reroll hit mechanics, they tend to offset.
You can't reroll. You can't
That's what
reroll
I'm saying
reroll.
is if when you have reroll hit and reroll fail mechanics, they cancel each other out and you just have no rerolls.
Right, but that's the point, though. I
still
Like,
think that's like not being able to be targeted. Like, it feels like we're trying to keep heroes alive with a lot of extra steps. Like,
Well,
why don't we not make them targetable?
there's no reroll rolls to hit rolls in shooting armies. The only one that comes close is Caradon Overlord, but it's the same as the CP cost. So there is effectively no reroll to hit mechanic in AOS in shooting.
Or Ether Gold.
It's-
But yeah.
Besides the
really?
Triumph. Yeah.
Oh, I guess I never considered that. Interesting.
Yeah, there is almost nothing that does. There's no wide ranging army mechanic that does that, basically.
Right,
No,
right.
Reroll ones to hit from the Knight Azeros in cities. And
It's still ones.
Well,
But
reroll
maybe not
ones.
CP.
you have to get within 10 inches of the hero. So, but the point I'm trying to say is, like, perhaps if they don't want to change, I'm proposing to Games Workshop, if they don't want to change it to some complex terrain rules, I think the best idea is just to say, like, you have to reroll successful hits against a hero in the shooting phase, if they're like not the monster keyword effectively.
That's not bad.
I think it would cut down drastically in the damage output. But yeah.
Okay, final takeaways, everyone. What do you want to see? Like, your overall idea is you want to balance. We want to balance the game.
I
My
expect
idea
a
got
letter-
poo-pooed on. I'm just gonna go cry to myself, and when it comes out,
I just
I'll be
think
vindicated.
I wanted John to say something so I could try to interrupt and shut it down. I'm sorry you got poo-pooed.
my final, it's just hammering the same point. Honestly, what kind of killed AOS for me, outside of not being able to play anything due to the
COVID.
plague, is
Fucking Skaven.
shooting is just like really killed my mood for this game. So anything that helps like rein in shooting is what's needed for 3.0, in my opinion.
How about smaller
Okay.
board sizes? The best I can do.
I think. Oh yeah, go on.
No, I was gonna say it's easy. You want what I look forward to is a letter of employment from Games Workshop to put me on the rules writing team so I can write 3.0 for them, because apparently they just don't care. So put me in, coach. I'm ready. All right, Alex, you go.
I was gonna say hit up Brand.
He's not AOS. He's 40K.
No, I know. Oh boy. Well, we don't. We're gonna probably have a stream this week for gaming.
Probably. I love the uncertainty. We're having a stream on Sunday.
I mean, like I'd like to. And then of course, we had talked just before recording. We are not going to have one with at least Jeremy and I the week
On the
after
30th.
next. However, I mean, we could get games in still with two other people down here and over there. Yeah,
Oh, you didn't point at me. Luckily, good.
I did. If I point in every direction, yeah.
Then you're pointing at no direction.
That's a very good
John,
point.
now.
John and Garrett, you guys, we'll coordinate and we'll schedule it next week. We're not we're not next week yet, guys.
Or we could figure out a live stream scenario on my phone, and you could
Fuck
just have
no.
me play Cody, and I just yell at him the whole time.
The potato camera says otherwise. There you go.
I mean, I could bring my webcam. It wouldn't be that hard. It'd be pretty easy. Do you have a laptop or something? No, probably.
Do
not.
I have a laptop or something? No, I use stone and potatoes. That's
I mean,
not
I don't
part
have a
of that.
laptop, so
Well, we're
Because
gonna.
you're so skinny. You probably don't have an ass either.
I'm working on it. That's fucking rude. Okay.
Jesus fucking
Well,
Christ.
now
John
that we're
just
just
cuts deep.
now that we're just fucking now that we're doing that, now that we're playing this fucking game, everyone.
Here we go. I know.
no,
I'm
no,
open to it.
No.
Okay, I'm good.
No, I'm not going to. No, I'm not going to. No. You
Wait,
know what?
wait.
Oh
When
no!
they-
Instead, he's gonna like slowly fucking trickle guilt at me for the next month. Okay,
I got you, Alex. Yeah. Hey, John. Is that a Dark Angel logo on your shirt?
No, yeah.
Oh no!
You know what?
It's the glorious Dark Angels.
Makes sense. Checks out.
When they go low, we go high, right?
Okay, Michelle.
Oh man. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm excited for any more content, and I know that the stats show. Unfortunately, there's just simply not enough data to really have that going right now. So hopefully, at least not, maybe if it's not us, if not the rest of the world, could produce some additional stats for us to gather up. So, we got that. And, there is some things that Garrett has kind of kept hidden as well that we might try to integrate into the stream. We got to see. That thing that I was talking about like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, boy, it would be great to have a scorecard while I was streaming. And then you were just like, I'm not going to say anything.
I'm going to try to do a live stream on Saturday. I want to review the Death Guard Codex, and I'm specifically talking about the rules. It's depending completely if I can get a hold of a Death Guard Codex on Saturday. If we're going to do it, it's going to be around 1 p.m. PST. Look forward to that. But it is, once again, conditional on me getting a Death Guard Codex.
Yeah, too bad you couldn't just get it on the app on Saturday morning or something like that.
Your mic is going nuts. I think you yelled too loud for your mic.
He blew out the coil.
Yeah, the mic was like, whoa, chill, calm down, dude.
I didn't expect this level of anger about this.
I feel like I'm gonna, that's gonna be a fun stream. So we got to get you the Codex stat. Does it come? It comes out Saturday, right?
That's right. Comes out Saturday.
Okay. Well then, bright and early, fucking Guardian, right?
White,
bright and early is noon.
Predictions. Sticking hot pile shit. Both literally and metaphorically. We'll find out.
Oh, I think it'll be fine.
Do you think they toned them down too much, or they crank them up? I'm going for too powerful.
I'm going for people winning on the internet. That's what
I'm going for. You know what? One way or another, Warhammer players, regardless of the system, will find a way to complain about it.
That's fair.
Right?
That's fair.
Some might burn their armies. Others might just get salty.
I'm only salty because everybody I know that I play against has a Death Guard army. So my that I play in my local group.
Oh,
yeah. There's only a couple people I play with. We all got our bubble. So in my bubble,
Anthony's got a
everybody
Death Guard
has Death Guard, huh?
Anthony has a Death Guard army.
Oh, you know what? I take that back. You realize I've played Anthony one game in the last 2 years.
Fair.
He has a Death Watch Army, not the same as Death Guard Army.
This is true. That's
I
true.
see-
So
I see what
actually,
you're
you know
Watching
what?
death, not guarding.
Anthony might become my new favorite opponent until the rest of my Death Guard friends chill out. Because that Death Watch
Oh my
game was
God.
really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh boy. Well, yeah, I can't wait to see what other stuff we can come out with. And yeah, Saturday we're gonna do the Codex review with Jeremy. We're gonna make it happen.
Nice.
And then, of course, we got that stream game on Sunday. But if you guys like this episode, do smash that subscribe button, or just like or subscribe. Rate us on Apple Podcast and Google Podcast and
I'm
Facebook
more of
Podcast. I am requesting you do so. Please do so. I'm trying to get that going. That being said,
Do it, God, do it, do it, do it.
Take hold that subscribe.
That might have to. We will see. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyways, this is going to be Alex, John, Jeremy, and Garrett signing off for the evening. We will see you guys next week.